What is going on, everybody? This is Brandon.
This is Bryce.
Welcome back to Comics Kings. Welcome back to the kingdom, or welcome if this is your first time here. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This is weekly wrap-up, our live show every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to be here for the live conversation, that is the time. If you're catching us on the replay, very much appreciated as always. Make sure you guys comment what you're reading this week, what your pick of the week was. We really love hearing from you guys. Also, be sure to hit that thumbs up on your way to the video. Helps out the channel a little bit. And even if you like our reviews, hit that subscribe button for more videos. We talk about various comic books and various comic book topics in the industry, review and analyze these conversations and these topics as well. It's great to see everybody. Bryce, how are you doing today, man?
Doing all right. Got through another week of school, week 2. Got about 12 more to go of the semester, but just taking it a week at a time, day at a time. Doing pretty good overall. You?
Well, as long as you got that calendar, you can just cross off the week, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. It was a long weekend, thank God, with a lot of great football. A lot of great football this week.
No, there was.
Your Bengals.
There was only one game on Saturday. Come on, it's not a lot of great football.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about. I'm gonna keep mocking the belt.
The Bengals had a game on Saturday. I mean, they were pretty good. I mean, I don't know anybody else that played after them.
Oh, you're ridiculous. What is going on, Travis? We got TM Nerdy in here.
Going on, Travis?
Army Bad Batch Station, Travis. We got our boy Melvin's in here, moderator as well to the channel. Melvin is awesome. Great friend of the show. Love having Melvin in the chat. We got Eric in here, the Stash Station, my brother.
Station.
We got Sheena in here, part of the Gal Squad, another great group in the comic community. Make sure you guys are checking them out. All their great content. Melvin says go Blue Devils. Go.
Dang
I said Blue.
straight.
I said Blue Devils. Blue Devils.
Dang straight.
And we got Vindicated in here. What is going on? We got Sal in here. What is going on, brother? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good Monday. Like I said, you guys, this is the show where we review the weekly comic books, where we talk about them. This was a great week for comics. There's a lot of them, which is kind of stupid because the week before was lackluster. It's like the first 2 weeks of the month, there's nothing coming out. Then the last 2 weeks is where they really hit.
Just wait till next week.
Oh, my gosh. Next week, I probably have 22. I know this week I had like 24 books on my pool, but I'm probably only going to talk about half of them.
Yeah, next week I think I have 8 books, and most all of them are all quality. Saga, of course, Thor, right. Flash, Robin. Like next week's definitely my biggest week of the month. It's probably my best week of the month.
Probably. It's like even if a book is bad, I'll still pick it up just because I want to talk about it.
Yeah, like Devil's Reign, Death of Doctor Strange, both of those are next week.
Oh yeah, those are. Well, we got some dope Devil's Reign tie-in.
That is true.
We got the X-Men one, which is actually really, really good. I enjoyed it. I read it.
You can talk about that because I'm not reading any of the Devil's Reign tie-ins, and I'm not a crazy Phil Noto fan. I enjoy some of his stuff, but
I love Phil Noto.
I'm not a crazy Phil Noto fan.
All right, so Jerry Dugan has set up a lot of the X characters in here. So this is so Jerry Dugan's the X head right now. He has done some tie-ins before with King in Black. He's doing the ongoing title. He's done a lot of work in X-Men. He's like Hickman's next up. He's like, these are all the characters I don't know how to write. Dugan, go for it. And Dugan's like, great, because Dugan's really good at writing characters. Phil Noto's a great artist. So this is a great duo, and they did great work together on the cable series. Basically, Kingpin is enacting the superhero like registration act. Essentially, he's like barring superheroes from being out and about. And the X-Men who have territory in New York, being the Treehouse, are like, hell no. So John Walker appears as part of the Thunderbolts. He's like, did they just really say no to us? Well, like the United States. And the X-Men are like, yeah, but we're the X-Men. So
you're freaking Krakoa. Like, yeah,
he goes to the Treehouse and throws his shield at the gate at the Treehouse. Polaris like snags it out of the air and just like throws it up. She's like, I may have overshot Manhattan. So they're getting into it. The Thunderbolts show up. So they're like super villains, and we got Emma Frost in here trying to like play the ambassador role to everything with Leland, who is the number 2 now. That was part of Inferno. and Marauders. So that's like Dugan's like, yeah, guys, like this is something that happened if you're reading my work in Marauders. So that worked, and that was great. And we get a little touch on Kingpin and Elektra and the passing of those files today. He no longer has use for them. He also had beef with Emma Frost that he needed to work on. And then so we got some cool moments of Polaris fighting John Walker, and I was like, yes, let's go. But the story was really great. The story was really great. You're never gonna expect crazy things from Phil Noto, in the fact that he's a very readable artist. Everything is super layered. It is like the only way to read this kind of book. You're gonna get a lot of pinups. You're gonna get a lot of like wide panels. You're not gonna get more than like your standard. But
okay, I wouldn't say like I am a Noto fan to an extent. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big enough fan of his work or Dugan's to really buy a tie-in issue that I wasn't planning on getting anyway. Like I'm the type I either get all of the tie-ins or pretty much none of them. And with Devil's Reign, I decided if Siddarski's name is on it, I'm buying it. Otherwise, no.
Yeah, but this is different because Jerry Dugan writes really good X-Men and he writes really good New York. So
fair. It just I don't know. It didn't draw me to it or anything. I think there are better artists than Phil Noto. He's great. He's really good, but there are much better in my opinion.
I really liked Phil Noto. By the way, you guys, we have a special guest here tonight that Bryce doesn't know about because I forgot to tell him. And that guy right here, he is one of my favorite channels. You guys know him from, he does a lot of unboxings, a lot of cool reviews. He has a new website called Comics Are Dope because comics are really dope. This guy's really dope. Bryce, BJ is joining us tonight. Did you know that?
I had no idea. There was no way that I could have known. I wish I'd have picked a better wardrobe.
I might leave the stream. Good seeing you guys. Thanks for that introduction. That was dope. It's me. I should have changed my little display name because it's not just me. We got Squeak here. Say hey, Squeaky.
Hey there, Squeak. I didn't know. Looks like we got 2 guests tonight. How about that?
We got 2 and both are dope.
Yeah, Squeak is doper than me.
Oh, that's not with a Pizza Planet shirt. No one's doper than a Pizza Planet shirt.
Yo, I love this Pizza Planet shirt.
Yeah, man.
Same here.
We got JT in the chat. What's going on, JT?
What's up, JT? How you doing, man?
BJ, what'd you read this week?
Funny, I'm actually catching up as we speak. I just finished ASM 86, and they suckered me into another issue. Like, this one was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Art was good. Story was good. Every time I'm, like, on the fence about it, the next issue is always just, like, blows me away. And then they'll give me another mediocre one to make me question all the decisions I just made. But 86 was good, so I'm down for 87. Hulk number 3, just finished reading this. That was pretty fantastic. Good. That was really good. I was waiting for this to hook me emotionally. I don't know what it is about Donny Cates and issue 3s, but it's always like the 3rd issue that gets me.
3rd issue of King Black.
Yeah.
3rd issue of Thor too, with that Beta Ray Bill fight.
3rd issue of his Guardians, where you got like the Gods of Olympus.
He has to like plan it at this point. It's like, okay, it's issue 3 every time. Like
he clearly plans it.
What up, Rod?
Venom.
Yes.
This one was good. How did this end? Oh, it was the preview for the next issue that I was like, I don't care. But I loved this issue. But it's like as soon as you go back to space and you start talking to Eddie and like whatever he's got going on, I'm like, give me more Dylan. But this was
give you more Dylan. I would say Dylan is really fair. Like Dylan has like a fresher concept, which I enjoy. I'm down for Al Ewing's cosmic stuff because I think he's trying to build that book on a larger scale, while Ron V's trying to keep it grounded. We'll talk about it later in the show. But Bryce, do you want to talk about Hulk?
I've actually got a little indie title, especially with BJ here, because I know he's a big fan of this. But I read 7 Secrets issue number 13.
My shop. So my shop's diamond shipment, like the truck literally crashed. So I don't have any indies from last week. I won't have them until at least Wednesday. So I have not read 7 Secrets. And there was like 4 other, the King Spawn, none of it. None of my indies I have.
My shop didn't get DC this week. They accidentally shipped his box to somewhere in Virginia.
Wow.
And I'm over here in West Virginia, and it's probably another. I don't know. They just basically they couldn't locate his original box, so they just packaged him up a new one, send it to him, and it's gonna be here this week. So I didn't get Nightwing was the big one I didn't get this week.
Word.
Sorry,
Yeah, Seven Secrets. It picks up pretty much right where issue 12 left off, which could be detrimental given the amount of time we've had between issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I went back and skimmed issue 12. I followed this perfectly. Tom Taylor, Danielle Di Nicuolo, doing great work over at Boom Studios. If you're not on this book, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a big fan of just straight up action, very stylized books.
Right.
It's been phenomenal. Other than Nightwing, it's probably been my favorite Tom Taylor book so far.
Seven Secrets is a really cool concept. I've read the first trade. I don't think they have the second one out yet. I think that was. Is it out?
I think it is out. I think it is out right
then
now.
I'm gonna have to hunt that down. But I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. What else? What else is going on in that book?
Well, in issue 12, they revealed that the main character Casper had some like powers of some kind. He was able to fly. It almost looked like he went into like an avatar state type thing from The Last Airbender.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
It was it was something else. They're really starting to dive into his backstory for this particular arc, which I think is very much needed after the last couple of issues.
Yeah, I guess that's where they left like the first volume off, is like kind of like, okay, who's his parents, right? Well, we know who his parents are. We don't know why he's important and why this guy's like where he is now. So I'm glad they're taking the time to do that. I wonder what they're gonna do with that book now that Tom Taylor's exclusive. Like, is he wrapping it up this arc? Or is there
I don't know. Indies are tough when it comes to like exclusivity, because I know Donny Cates allegedly had an exclusive with Marvel for a little bit, but he's still doing an Image book.
Well, he's a huge contract with Image right now. That's why I like all of his books at $20. So
I think there's got to be some sort of exclusion for creator-owned stuff, because I mean, Tynan was exclusive to DC while Something Is Killing the Children was blowing up, like all that. So I think they write it to the contract so they can do creator-owned stuff.
Right.
But I know there's something different about like creator-owned titles with Boom versus Image. So I don't know how that all works.
Right. What is going on, Rudy? Glad to see you here in the chat. Yeah, I would be pretty sad. Too. That movie would make a great animated series. I would love to see that on the TV like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's yeah, absolutely.
BJ read Amazing Spider-Man 86. I also read Amazing Spider-Man 86. So let's talk about it a little bit. This is by Zeb Wells, and the art is by Dowling. At least her name is Michael Dowling. Michael Dowling. And his art is pretty dope. I think he works better when everything is like zoomed out. I don't think he's that great drawing like kind of like close-ups people, because I think some of his facial expressions get a little bit jacked up. Where we are now in the story is Ben Reilly and Otto Octavius came to some sort of agreement. Otto gave him the drive that he hijacked, and Ben learned the deepest, darkest secrets of the Beyond Corporation. So now he's back with his therapist who thinks that there's that confidentiality between the two of them. So he goes to open up and tell her what happened or what he saw, what he's learned, and then he gets taken over by like a mind chip that Maxine put in his head upon agreeing to him signing on as Spider-Man. And so they're like trying to reteach him kind of like how to be back in the Beyond Corporation. And this is pretty cool, you know. It's kind of sad that now that we have that Spider-Man got relaunched announcement, no one's going to care about this book. No one's going to care. But it's a dope Ben Reilly story. So if you want to get into Ben Reilly as a character, the first trade just dropped at your local comic shops. They probably should have it in stock. But Ben really has not gotten a whole lot of love. I'm not going to count the Clone Conspiracy because he basically got treated like the villain. He was the villain of that story, but he's not a villain. And I think this book is really good at kind of giving him a new beginning, but still giving him room for improvements. But unfortunately, now he's in a pretty tricky situation, especially with the history with his wife, who has been in jail for murder. So it's kind of like you have to be good with us. You have to do what we say because we can out you and take away. We can take away more than just Spider-Man. We can take away everything you have, but which is really interesting because if they do take away Spider-Man, which is going to be a cool test of Ben Reilly's character is, okay, he's still Ben Reilly now. Like, what is he without those superpowers? And I think that's gonna be how he needs to define himself in these future issues. So I'm really interested to see that play out. I know a lot of people who are not reading this are just waiting for it to relaunch. I'm glad that we're getting less Peter. We're focusing on Ben because it's a pretty cool story. I would definitely check it out. The next issue, Jen McKay's writing, which is going to be great.
Yeah, my only thing with this Beyond story arc is because it is good. There are definite filler issues, like, and it jumps around. So we get like a really dope Peter story, then we'll jump back into see what's going on with Ben. Like, it's all cool, right? But if we're relaunching and that relaunch isn't happening until April, is this going to be a weekly series until April? And do we need it to be a weekly series for the next 2 months?
I think Marvel wants it to be a weekly series just so they can like pump this out. Because Marvel's like, yeah, we really don't care about the story anymore, right? It's a good story. We just don't care about it. And my whole thing with Marvel is how many stories do you have that are like kind of like this organic that you just throw away, you know? And I was like, you're treating this like a throwaway story. Your fans are treating it like a throwaway story. When I'm reviewing this book, I'm like, this is great. But at the end of the day, it's a throwaway story. And we have yet to really give Patrick Gleason all the money that we're paying him. So I'm like, he can team up with Mark Bagley all he wants. He can write and draw issues all he wants. But it's like, at least make this story seem important because Ben Reilly is a cool character and he should be just as important as Peter. Maybe not just as important, but like right underneath, you know? Especially when you're trying to push this whole Spider-Man multiverse saga. Ben Reilly's a cool character to have in that mix.
Yeah, I mean, I know I haven't been reading it, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. It's just the fact that it is weekly. Like, my college student budget can't handle that.
Can't handle it.
Like, it does get me a little frustrated with Marvel. I've been frustrated about the whole weekly thing from the beginning.
Right.
It's like, it takes like a House of X, Powers of 10 kind of story to make a weekly book worth it.
Right.
In my opinion.
Another weekly book that is absolutely, well, I mean, DC has a weekly book coming out right now, and it's absolutely terrible, and it's Detective Comics. And the reason why it's terrible, not because Mariko Tamaki can't write Gotham. She can paint a setting. She can summarize what Gotham is in her eyes, but she can't write characters. She absolutely cannot write male characters. And that really makes me mad, because in no way, shape, or form should Dick and Bruce have that same aggression in their tone.
Right? Oh, no, not at all.
And for when you're writing, so you're not using Batman, great. You write Batwoman really well. You write Orphan really well. You write Spoiler really well. You write Huntress to Out of This World. You have everything lined up to have a Birds of Prey book. That should be it. You write a good Barbara Gordon, right? Ivan Reyes is on the art. His talents are being wasted simply because Mariko Tamaki, when she's writing male antagonists, they come off as very stereotypical in the eyes of the women in this book. So if you're trying to write the story from the first person of Huntress, right, you're at that moment, and you see this image of Dick Grayson just completely yelling at her, or Batwoman. That to me is like, that's not fitting to the character, and it's like you're trying to have that male is asserting and the female is just knuckling under. You're trying to paint like the male as kind of like, not the abuser, but like the alpha, and how that's not okay. You want to write the Bat Family, go right ahead and write the Bat Family the way that they're supposed to be written, instead of just like trying to point out that the male Bat Family characters are trying to degrade the female one. I'm like, shut up. That's not
Especially Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson is probably one of the least degrading characters in the DC universe.
Right? You could have done Jason Todd, and that would have been right. Yo, we got aggressive.
I mean, honestly, if you
what's going on, Steven?
I know he's off doing his own thing, but if you want a Bat Family character that degrades everybody, Damian Wayne's right there. BJ, you been reading Detective Comics? I kind of dropped it a while back, but
yeah. So I mean, I have this rule in my head that I will never drop Batman or Detective Comics, but I kind of check out mentally. So I just went back and read all the Detective Comics up through Fear State. And surprisingly, I really enjoyed it. I was like, okay, this was good. In some instances, it was better than what Tynan was doing on Fear State,
right?
In my opinion. So jumping into Detective Comics with what 1048. I was okay, cool. Chase Meridian's back. I liked the twist. I mean, Batman Forever. I mean, it's on my wall. It's one of my favorite Batman movies. So I mean, Chase Meridian just being there is just hilarious to me. The psychiatrist dude dying at the end of 1048. I was okay. Well, that's a twist. But like the fact that it's weekly honestly does turn me off. I don't think I've read it since 1048. I'm like, you know what? I'll just read this when it's all collected. Maybe it's better then. Well, we got 3 weekly titles right now. We got the Wolverine event going on right now. Spider-Man's weekly, and Detective Comics is weekly. Like, something's got to give.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I'm really on the fence of dropping this book. And at one point, it was better than Tynan's Batman. When Tamaki first started with Dan Mora, that book was great. There was no better Batman book on the shelf. And we had 20 of them. And now we only have 30. What I mean only is because we know DC has 20 more in their like storage bins. But I don't know. This book just is not rubbing me the right way. And I don't really like the way Tamaki's used. I like the way she was using dialogue with Huntress, exploring Gotham, exploring like the citizens. I like those concepts. But when you're writing the Bat families, like these characters are already established and they're supposed to be written a certain way to fit the narrative of your book. It's just not working. It's just not it for me.
I mean, the other thing that doesn't work for me is Batman's not in it, right? Well, I mean, which is fine. Like, I don't mind a Bat family focused book, but in a world where I'm already reading Nightwing, where Barbara's in and out of Nightwing, and I love how they're being written there. Damian's got his own book. Like, I've kind of got all the Bat family I really want right now. So it's like Detective Comics doesn't feel necessary. I'm a huge Batwoman fan. I might go back and read some of her stuff. I've never really read Huntress like that. So it's just like, what am I reading this for?
Right. And Huntress is the character Tamaki wants to focus on. She's been in almost every issue. She's had probably the biggest role in this book. So it's like, why Huntress?
Well, the solo Huntress stuff, like back in, I think, 1035 was when they did like the Huntress backup stories and stuff.
Right.
Those were fantastic. In my opinion, those were better than the actual like issue that came before.
Oh, yeah. Agreed.
So, I mean, if DC would give Mariko Tamaki like a Huntress miniseries or something, I'd be all over that. But at this point, it just based on what I'm being told and how they're marketing it and things like that, because I haven't read an issue since I think 1038.
Right.
But it seems like they're just pumping out Detective Comics because it's Detective Comics, and they can't really, like, you can't cancel Detective Comics. You can cancel the main Batman title before you can cancel Detective Comics if you're DC. It's literally what you're named after. And it just seems like they really don't have anything to do with it, with the amount of Bat Family and Batman-related titles on shelves right now.
Right. What's going on, a comic book novice and Manny? What's going on, you guys? Station. Good to see you guys.
What's going on?
We got 2 more Gotham books that I wanted to discuss. One of which is Batman the Knight by Chip Zdarsky, art by I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm going to do my best, but it's by Carmine Di Giandomencio. Same guy from 7 Seasons.
They did like the first few issues of Josh Williamson's Flash run.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I know you're talking about there. Really?
Yeah, it's a good call because I completely forgot he started that book. This is Batman's angry, has a therapist named Hugo Strange. Now he's going off to see Batman. I've heard a lot of great reviews about it. Everyone's saying like this is a great story, right? But out of all the Chip Zdarsky books that I've encountered over the past few years, this is probably the weakest, simply because it's what I care less about. Zdarsky has never put out a book that I've looked at and said, I genuinely disagree with anything you have to say. It's like, I agree with everything you have to say in your book. I enjoy it. It's a good story, but who cares right now?
It's Batman.
Right. It's not even Batman. Yeah. It's like, okay, he's angry adolescent Bruce Wayne going to train to be Batman, and he's pissed off at the world. I'm like,
fair enough. I mean,
of all the Bat books that we have going on right now, I feel like not only is this the weakest one, it's the most unnecessary because we've heard these same origin stories over and over and over again. Like, I could count 4 spin-off, like these little mini-series Batman books that you recapture his origin, or some writer wants to tell their Batman story, a different way. It's like, it's kind of getting to the point where enough is enough, and it's just like on repetition at this point. It's a good book, it's dope, but it's just like, hey, who cares? We have too many, and I'm kind of not feeling this one. BJ, what did you think of it?
I didn't pick it up because
neither.
To end 2021, I just went and binge read all the stuff that I skipped out on last year, right? So I got caught up with everything Batman, the Night series, the Tom Taylor joint, Batman Reptilian, and I just was like, you know what? Like, there's just too much Batman. Like, none of it really feels necessary. They're all good Batman stories in a vacuum, but why are there so many of them? And so I decided, look, I'm not buying any of these Black Label series. I'm not buying the Jock book. I'm not buying any of it. I'll wait till they get collected in hardcovers, and I'll just enjoy them as good standalone stories. But in a world where I'm already subbed to Batman and Detective Comics and Nightwing and Robin, and the list goes on, I'm just like, I can't do these little mini series. They don't hold as much weight to me. So I skipped out.
No, yeah, absolutely. And that's I know it probably takes a lot for you to skip a Batman book in the same way it takes me a lot to skip a Chip Zdarsky book.
Yeah, it's difficult. You want to read all of it, but it's just like, if I read all of this Batman, I'm not reading anything else. And I now run a review channel, so I gotta read something, if nothing else, so I can actually evaluate the Batman books on a fair scale.
Right. I kind of feel that you buy books sometimes just to talk about it, right? Mm-hmm. And this book was definitely one, and every new Batman #1 has been, I'm going to read this for the show, right? Or people are like, oh, you should read it, talk about it. Okay, great. But for this one in particular, so far my favorite one has been Reptilian, which that was just the most original, weird, creepy story you could possibly make. And then the Robin one Jeff Lemire just did with Justin Wynn, that was, of all of those are the only 2 that I can say that I would remember better than the other ones, and that's going up against Jocks, which is forgettable. Batman Imposter me was very forgettable. This is very forgettable right now. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's I'm at the point where it's I don't care to read this much Batman.
Yeah. And I'm sure DC's strategy isn't that we're supposed to be buying all the Batman. I think they really are pumping out these Black Label series with the goal of getting them into Barnes & Noble as somebody picking them up for their teenager or something. Yeah. But the business model just doesn't make sense, because we get it all first. And it's why are you flooding the shelves? Give me a dope Green Arrow book or something.
Right. Right, like Melvin says, give me a dope Green Arrow book, which is a character we don't have. We don't have Arthur Curry right now, and we don't have Hal Jordan, so we got that. He also says too much Batman, in my opinion, despite me being a huge Batman fan. Yeah, it's getting to the point where even Batman fans are kind of checked out. Deep Target, I was not as on board with, just because I didn't like the idea of Green Arrow and Aquaman switching personality or switching bodies.
Yeah.
I was
like Freaky Friday with Green Arrow and Aquaman.
Yeah, I didn't ask for that. I don't care who's writing, drawing, or lettering it. I was I don't care. I mean, I'll check it out. I'll read it. I'll give it a shot if people recommend it. Like a comic book novice, if you want me to check it out, I definitely will. I'm always down to try something new. And what is going on, John Norris?
What's going on?
But I don't know. I've not really been feeling DC, just DC Comics as a whole right now. You got a few golden gooses, but the rest of it have been duds in my book.
Well, something too, DC, it doesn't make sense what they do sometimes. They've got a dope concept for a Peacemaker book coming out this week. It's being written by Garth Ennis and everything. Peacemaker as a character is right up Garth Ennis's alley.
Right.
But it's a one shot. Yeah. Why is it just a one shot? You're almost kind of deterring people from that, because a lot of one shots like that they pump out just because of a show are extremely unnecessary. But with that team and with the synopsis behind it of him basically in a therapy session talking about like what makes him Peacemaker, that would be a dope miniseries.
Oh no, for sure. I don't know. It's
But
weird.
I don't know. Yeah, DC as a whole, with the exception of the Bat Family and in some cases Superman, aren't really doing anything for their characters marketing wise, or like just giving them books.
Right. I really enjoyed Catwoman 39. It's a new issue by Tini Howard, artist by Nico Leon, who just did a lot of good work in Marvel. Catwoman's back in Gotham. I have not been reading Catwoman up until this point. To me, this is my jumping on. And she left Gotham for whatever reasons. She's back now. And it's basically, this is like it is the most detective story in here. She has to stop these crime bosses who are doing a lot of trafficking and doing a lot of things that are going over the radar of Alleytown and the Bat Family because they're too busy with the Bat Tower. So I guess this is the most detective story. The art is great. The coloring's great. She has to enter a strip club to get to the people that she's hunting. So it's great. She's kind of like using resources, like kind of like when you're in a public setting, you like let your guard down, right? So sometimes like you miss out on things that like would slip your mind, right? Or that would like right in front of you. So like that was like really cool. She had a lot of great lines in here, catching up with some of her older friends. So I really did enjoy this book. I would definitely check it out. This is a great beginning. It's a very gritty story. And Tini Howard has a lot to say. There is a lot of dialogue in this book, but it all reads very fluently. And if you do want to get into Catwoman, I would definitely say that this is a must read. And I'm not a big Catwoman fan, and this was up there in my top. This is a top 5 book of the week for me. I really did enjoy it.
Wow.
Bryce, your dad's here.
That is my dad. I've seen pictures of him holding baby me like that, and it makes me realize I took 20 years to grow into my head.
I still haven't gotten into mine.
What up, Bobby?
No, but I mean, yeah, it's Rom V is a hard follow up. So if people across the board are pretty much liking Tini Howard's first issue of Catwoman, then again, especially following Rom V, that's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Definitely had that fresh beginning. BJ, did you pick up Catwoman this week? Nope. Bryce, what else did you get to this week?
Well, one of the 3 books I was able to get this week didn't have a lot of Marvel and only one indie, but in my opinion, the best book in Marvel currently, Moon Knight, number 7. Moon Knight is absolutely phenomenal. It's by Jed MacKay. This issue is by Federico Sabatini, not Alessandro Cappuccio. And they're basically just trying to get to the bottom of this Zodiac mystery. It starts out kind of with a bang, like Moon Knight walking into the bar with no name, which for you Doctor Strange and Marvel Sorcerer fans, it's not an easy place to find, not an easy place to get into. And Moon Knight just kind of waltzes in there, which really just shows how important he is as a whole to these kind of situations. Get another nod, another couple pages to his therapy sessions. A nice little nod to Mark Spector's Judaism in here, referencing Ben Grimm, sending him a Hanukkah card every year.
Right.
Love that. Get some scenes with Tiger on the phone, back and forth. Talk about that, or come back to that later. And then Moon Knight's just basically tracking down and trying to get information on anybody that could lead him to this Zodiac, including this villain called 8-Ball. One called what's his name? Manslaughter Marsdale. Just like these weird, not even C or D list villains, more like E list. And he's just basically trying to track him down, get any information they can. He goes to find this one called the Clown. Zodiac's already wiped him out.
Right.
And we cut back to Tigra on the phone, and she's talking to this person, basically telling her, hey, keep an eye on Mark Spector. He has to be watched. He's too dangerous to be left unwatched. And who is it other than T'Challa the Black Panther?
Right.
Which I thought was super dope. Black Panther's been getting a lot of love recently, especially with his... A lot of people have been digging his current ongoing series. I read the first issue, haven't been able to pick up the past couple, but that might be something to read collected.
Third issue comes out this Wednesday, right, BJ?
Correct.
What do you think of that series so far?
Black Panther, I like it. So I didn't have my hopes up too high going into it, just because I didn't really like John Ridley's next Batman stuff until maybe the last 3 issues. That series has really hit its stride now that Fear State is over, and which leads me to believe that it was editorial holding them back the whole time. Because that series, I Am Batman, is really good, and Black Panther is really good too. So, basically, spoilers for issue 2 or whatever. Well, no, this is issue 1. We all read issue 1. So Wakanda's a democracy now, or basically a democracy, and T'Challa is like, progress is kind of slow. I don't like it. And in the meantime, like, there's something that T'Challa has set up, some sort of like covert operations team that he has set up in secret back when he was still king of Wakanda. And now that's coming back to bite him because someone has figured out who this team is, and they've been taking them out like one by one. So it's like this race to try to make sure the team is safe without alerting Wakanda to the team's presence. Shuri made a really dope appearance in issue 2. I'm very excited for issue 3. Somehow Storm and the X-Men are making an appearance in issue 3. Plus issue 3 is the 200th legacy issue. So it's going to be an oversized issue. Supposedly it's a key. It's already going for more or whatever on eBay for whoever was able to get it early. So go ahead and call your shop. Try to get one if you can.
I would definitely say Black Panther is a must read. That was really cool. I didn't read Moon Knight this week, so this is definitely sounds like an issue that I'm gonna have to like read tonight because it sounds pretty dope. Why I'm so tired. It has been a week.
Oh, trust me, Moon Knight gets even better on the last page. We cut to like a little epilogue with Mark's therapist, and we see her go into her office, and we see that Zodiac with the head of the clown dude. He basically took off his head and took it with him. So we see Zodiac in the therapist's office.
Oh,
so
no
everything is coming together now, and really just shows that Jed MacKay is one of the best working right now, at least for Marvel.
Oh, 100%. I don't think Jed has put out a bad book in Marvel yet. What's going on, Jay? And then
what's going on?
Your dad's talking back. You know what? Bengals had a good win. I'm rooting for them, but you know what? I think your dad's making me rethink my decisions.
I never thought a day would come where I could say that not only would the Bengals make the AFC Championship game, but that a 6th seed would be in the NFC Championship game along with a Matthew Stafford team.
Right.
Like I never thought I'd be talking about Matthew Stafford or the Bengals in a conference championship game, personally. It's kind of weird, but I'm entertained. Even as a Packers fan, I'm entertained.
I would have thought you guys made the championship before the Cleveland Browns made the playoffs, but I guess we're living in a weird world where these things happen. But you know what? It is what it is. But we did not talk about Nightwing 88. I want to take a moment to do that as well. Driving Bryson.
Oh, man.
I heard that book.
You're welcome.
But Nightwing is dope, man. So he just made a public statement. So he's like public enemy number 1 now because he wants to rebuild the city, and the people who don't want him to rebuild the city, Blockbuster, has a hit out for him. Heartless also wants him dead because he wants his heart, obviously. And Heartless is a really cool villain. His mindset is, how can I be the biggest villain? Well, I'm going to take down the other biggest villain, who is a long-term Nightwing villain. Blockbuster is a was pretty original to the Chuck Dixon series back in the 90s. And so it's like, okay, so if you're going to be the top dog, you want to establish this guy. So I think Tom Taylor is definitely doing that the right way. At the end of the book, we learned that Blockbuster ordered the hit on Nightwing, and Heartless found out. So he's like, it's time to get rid of this guy because it's my time to shine. Nightwing is getting ready to address the public again, which is when the Barbara sends out like a little call to the Teen Titans, and they come in and they help defend Dick Grayson, and Wally ends up taking him to his new suit that was designed by Mr. Terrific, which is a pretty dope suit. It's like it has like a lot of the classic feeling as well that we know for Nightwing, but it's nothing too crazy, too bold. It's very simple. Unlike the Miles Morales costume, this one's actually pretty dope. That Miles Morales costume was severely terrible. Looked like I don't know. I've never seen a terrible Foot Locker sponsorship until that one, but that's all I'm going to say on that. But it was really cool to see Wally and Dick's relationship being put to the forefront on here. We also saw Raven in here, so I was like, you know what? We need a good Titans book again that just has these characters, because that is something we don't have in DC Comics, and it has such a fan base. Like, anyone who grew up in Tom Taylor's generation, if you were a DC fan in the 80s, that is the only book that was good before Crisis on Infinite Earths. Batman was fine, right? But Teen Titans by Wolfman Perez, that brought DC out of bankruptcy. That title. Watch the Marv Wolfman interview for more of that we had earlier. But this book really just showed why it is important to have this story with the Teen Titans and what kind of a fan base they have with writers still. It's like, I kind of wish that DC had that freedom. I know that when DiDio was editor-in-chief, when he was the guy in charge, he didn't like Sidekicks, so clearly he wasn't a Teen Titans fan because they're all sidekicks. And they all put our Trinity heroes in a certain age group, and DiDio didn't like that. But now that we're in this infinite frontier, you can have a good Teen Titans story. Titan United sucks, and Teen Titans Academy is beyond terrible. And that book is not going to be on the shelves more than another year. So
I'm sure this is like a discussion point for a whole different type of show. But does having sidekicks really age the character in your mind?
Yeah,
because I've never put any thought to it.
Absolutely. If Nightwing is 23 years old, Batman has to be in his mid-50s.
I guess I watch enough cartoons that it's like, whatever.
It doesn't matter in cartoons.
Yeah.
Right? Who gives a crap, Yeah. But also in cartoons, it's like each character's aimed at a specific audience. Cartoons are made for kids, so obviously Nightwing is not going to be an adult when he looks up as Batman, because you want that father-son dynamic, like, oh, my dad's terrible, telling me what to do. You're a kid. You're like, hell yeah, man, my dad sucks.
Well, unless it's Young Justice.
Right.
Unless it's Young Justice. I actually really enjoyed season 2 of that when Nightwing came in. I thought Nightwing was the coolest dude.
Still in season 1, the first thing that they said, we're all sidekicks. These are like big dads,
Yeah.
That sounds like the whole
that's
thing.
I don't know. That's kind of a tough question to answer. In the case of Batman, I think it does, especially if you've had 5 Robins at this point.
Yeah,
and
Batman
some of them have grown up with you. Like, it is detrimental to Batman, especially because all of his Robins age. Right. And Flash too, but you can at least with the Flash, you can probably blame his on decelerated aging due to the Speed Force. I don't know, or with Superman, you could just blame it on Kryptonian DNA.
Right.
But for characters like Batman and Green Arrow, human characters,
I guess that's true.
Yeah, kind of.
I guess that's true. I guess because I'm such a Batman fan and because I love all the members of the Bat family, I just suspend my disbelief in that way. Whatever. Yeah. Batman can exist. Dick Grayson can be 30. Damian can be 19. And in my mind, Batman's still going to be 24.
everybody's the same age in Batman Beyond too. It's like
I guess when we're all that old, I think we still want to move like we did when we were 24. So the fact that Batman can do that at age like 65 and still move like he's still like, you know, Derrick Henry in his prime, you know, it's like, come on now. I read the first issue of Robins, and I was like, I'm not the biggest Tim Seeley fan to begin with, and I'm not the biggest Tim Seeley fan after reading it. In fact, he's lower on my list after reading that book. For some reason, my shop's still putting it in my pool, so I'm still paying for it. So I have all the issues, and I'm like, I canceled, and they keep throwing it in. I'm like, I'm just done paying for it now. I don't want to pay for this book anymore. It's not good. But I mean, I
didn't like the art. I didn't even buy the first issue because I saw like Dick Grayson was drawn with kind of like he was drawn almost like an anime character with a man bun.
Oh no, yeah, he looked like
I'm just like I don't know who this is, but that's not Richard Grayson.
Yeah, and by the way, they're all the A covers, not the thirsty B covers, but.
Oh, you mean you're not getting the B covers? I thought you'd be all over that.
You don't want the God, I was gonna say
when you're already when I can just look in the mirror and I already have that cover.
Oh man. I'm just okay.
Nightwing's dope.
Like somebody was I think somebody just slipped one day, and it's like, you know, it's like okay, how many issues is Robin's?
It's like
5 4 or 5. Okay,
like
you can only do those covers for 4 issues. You can't do one for Damian because Damian's a child.
Damian is absolutely a child.
Shut up, Bryce.
But so what are they gonna do for the 5th issue? Is it just gonna be like a giant like Sports Illustrated like group pinup?
But haven't they all been Dick Grayson covers?
Yeah.
The first one was Dick, second one was Jason, third is gonna be Tim, or third was Tim, and then 4th is Stephanie.
That one I'm gonna get. I'm gonna
get the Stephanie.
But the fact that we're talking about this means we didn't pick them up.
Right.
I mean, 6 issues. What are they gonna do for the last 2 issues? Are they gonna release them all in like? Are they just gonna flip the script entirely and have them in like full suits and ties, like they're going to church almost?
Yeah, and then they're gonna have Justin Timberlake in the background. They're making a Justin Timberlake concert, you know?
Oh my gosh,
that would be dope.
Yeah, I read the first issue of Robins. I didn't hate it. It just didn't feel necessary. Once again, once we got to like that last page reveal and the chick that was like, I was the first Robin, I was like, all right, I'm out. Like,
who cares?
Yeah, none. Like, don't change stuff from 80 years ago.
Right.
But this book isn't even canon. That's the whole point of it. It's like it was like the fans voted, and if this was the fans voting, I mean, I want to recount because I was really interested in the Green Lantern story, but.
Yeah,
you know what? They should have had an electoral college. They should have had delegates for this. This is serious. This is a comic book, guys. Like,
I know I voted for it, but I didn't know Tim Seeley's writing style. I've just wanted a Robins book for years, and I saw that, and I was like,
"Oh no, yes. The cover's been dope. The covers I have no problem with. It's like, I feel brain dead after reading the interiors. I'm like, and you actually got professional work.
I mean, the idea of a Robins book with Dick Grayson as the lead is a dope idea. Like, I love Dick, Jason, and Damian going out and solving something together. Like, that's cool. It's just this execution wasn't it.
But what sucks is you're never going to see this title again for the next 5-6 years because DC's not going to want to print it again because this book sucked. And like, we're not going to take a chance on this. We can just give them their own series and have them cross over.
Yeah,
they're not going to do that, right? So now the fact that this book sucks is going to cancel opportunities for it to come later on, which is even more sucky because it's a great concept. That's, you know, if you guys want,
there's an easy solution.
Don't give Tim Seeley work.
Well, I'm saying that like here's the creative team you need right here, and it's based off of one issue that I've read, but that one issue was so good. You need Joshua Williamson and Jorge Corona doing a Robins book because Robin issue 5 basically encompassed everything I could ever want in a Robins book.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Why can't we?
As a matter of fact, that came out around the same time when the Robins #1 did.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's much better.
They were like 2 weeks apart. I was like, if you guys want to go back and watch that weekly wrap up, I think that was the angriest I've ever gotten, and that's beating anything I've reviewed from Nick Spencer. So
that's fair. I think what was the angriest I ever got? It was for Trial of Magneto issue 2, I think.
No, you were heated with Trial of Magneto.
I was. I to this day I've called that the only thing I choose to call that book is the trial of my patience. No, I will say whoever came up with the idea for those B covers either deserves to be fired for the idea or promoted for the amount of sales that they got. Good Lord. This thing sold.
You got women into comics.
Or
other people. Or LGBT people.
They were a fun gimmick. They were a fun gimmick, to be sure. Had I not been scared to get like some weird looks, part of me wanted to get them just for the irony.
Yeah, imagine your poor mother walking into the room, seeing that cover hung up on the wall. She would be confused.
And she's like, Bryce, why do you have this?
I know your mom.
I'm like, I have this because it exists. It shouldn't exist. So I'm going to have it because it does.
Oh, imagine if you bought Batman Damn #1 before it got called back.
Oh my gosh. That book, man.
BJ's like, I'm done.
Yeah, nah. I don't think I was buying single issues when that book came out. Like, so yeah, I had no idea, but it was clearly the talk of the town.
I mean, yeah.
Fit to be read in here. What's going on, man? Haven't seen in a minute. Should be.
What is up, Fit?
Should be one of the price. Yep. Agreed.
Between books like that and then going to engineering college during the week, you're not wrong.
Engineering as in mechanical?
Mechanical, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
In my third year for some reason.
My mother's a mechanical engineer. She's like an operations manager at a warehouse or facility, something, whatever. They make computer chips where she works.
Hey, more power to her then. That is something I've considered wanting to do, but yeah, it's right now at least. It's easily one of the toughest things I've ever had to do, but it's just it is what it is.
I took drafting 1 and 2 in high school. Once we got to AutoCAD, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. This is not fun.
Oh man. Shoot. Hey, yeah, happy New Year, Fit. Good to have you back. Hopefully you enjoyed your little hiatus. I know it's nice to get away from this sort of thing every now and then. So hopefully you enjoyed it, but we're glad to have you back.
Super.
Yo, how many issues in a row can Tom Taylor write that are just like really good? Like,
I don't know because
this Nightwing has been flawless. How do you feel about Son of Kal-El? Have you guys reading that?
Oh yeah, I'm reading it, and
I am not. I don't like to double dip with characters a lot of times. So Action Comics was stellar, and so I just stuck with it.
Right.
Got you. Well, Son of Kal-El is not double dipping because it's John.
It is John. True. I don't know. It's more mental for me. Like I'm reading a Killer Wally West book right now.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't read a Barry Allen book right now. I mean, It's just that it depends.
Let's talk about it. Superman Son of Kal-El by Tom Taylor, Clan Tormey. He's a guest artist here who draws really well, which I like. I've been praising this book for the longest time, saying that it's a necessary book for people that it gives that voice to. But my issues have started to arise in the past 2 issues where, so in this book, we're going to Gamora. We're there. We're trying to find Jay's parents, and there's a monster that's attacking that. We learned that Bendix and Luthor are in the same. They're like together in the fact that they're collaborators in trying to end everything Superman. So, as Jay's like trying to look for his parents, he's like getting pretty emotional with it. This sea monster attacks them, and as they get to shore, which causes Superman to fight it, and he loses. And Jackson Hyde is there to kind of like bring him out, which like Jackson Hyde is another LGBT character. He has a series over Arthur Curry, which I don't necessarily agree with, but fine. Okay. He's a cool character. I've enjoyed Jackson and everything that I've seen him in, everything I've read him in, but this would have been a better moment for you to use Arthur Curry because Arthur Curry has much more experience. And for Jackson Hyde to claim or to act like he has more experience than John, I felt like you could have achieved more with Arthur Curry rather than adding in, like, there's a reason why Jackson Hyde is in this book, and there's no reason. I'm not sugarcoating it at all, and I'm not downgrading the importance of it. I'm downgrading the organicness of this story, is the fact that this book is trying to push sexuality as a plot device rather than pushing these characters as why we love them. I feel like he writes John the same way like we would see John in Super Sons if we ever got that title back, or the same way that we saw John when he came back. He's definitely maturing a lot as Superman. But Jay is a character that we haven't gotten to know other than the fact that, okay, he has powers and he's gay. Right? But there's been no attachment to Jay. There's been nothing of a forefront of why is this character important. He's just kind of a tool in this story, right? And I feel like that was and that was even more so in my face when you saw Jackson Hyde, especially because that same mentorship that could have been used would have been so much better from Arthur, who has been in countless more situations than Jackson, would have had a much better job. I just think Tom Taylor really wanted to push that agenda, and it really screamed that it was a plot device. However, it's a good story, so I'm going to continue to buy it. I just had a big issue with that. What do you think, DJ?
I have the word agenda makes me cringe, but I totally get what you're saying. You know, I'm a heterosexual male with kids, right? Like, I'm very much in a traditional family, so it's like the sexuality as a plot device doesn't speak to me the way I imagine it speaks to someone else. I'm having the same issue with the Naomi CW series right now, right? I don't know if either of you are watching that, but
did it come out? It hasn't come out. It's not coming out for a while.
It has. The Naomi CW series is on. Episode 2 just came out.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, episode 2 is last week. Episode 3 should come out tomorrow. But I mean, it's just basically, if you thought they were going to expand on Naomi's character, give you something you didn't see in the comics, they're not. They're just going to super drive out what you got in those 6 issues that Bendis wrote. And then with the rest of the space and the rest of the runtime, they're just going to examine her exploring her sexuality and like her social life. And she's literally got like 4 or 5 love interests, like girls, guys, everybody wants to be with Naomi. And she's like playing naive, like, oh, I don't know, like whatever. But that's an aside.
It's like
I could write. I'm like in high school, seriously, like nobody. But anyway, I could rant about that show all day. But my point is, it's like this kind of reads the same. Like you can clearly tell what Tom Taylor's trying to do with John, right? Like with the first, I'd say 4 or 5 issues, it was very much like, let's establish that John Kent is a very different kind of Superman. He cares about different issues, right? He's fighting for climate change. And when you guys are younger, you can tell me if these things resonate with you. I imagine they resonate more with a younger crowd. The younger you are, I feel like the more you might have in common with John Kent. And I can get that. Like, I get highlighting the generational difference and John wanting to do things differently than his father did. And I'm down for that. But then the other part is, and it's the same issue I had with him, I worded it almost the exact same way. I'm totally fine for a who am I story, right? Like discovering who you are, discovering your abilities, or even like deciding who you want to be. Like, I'm totally down with that. It's difficult when I have to like watch you explore who you want to be because it feels aimless. And as an adult, you know, married with kids,
you gotta have a direction.
You don't have the patience to like watch that process happen.
Right.
So anyway, with all the different things that John Kent has been exploring, you know, climate change, and immigration reform, police brutality, wildfire, like we've talked about all of those things in the last 5 issues, 6 at this point. The only thing that feels contrived is the relationship with Jay. Like, it doesn't feel earned. Like, he's kind of popped up and was like, ooh, let's kiss.
Right, it's like a Tinder date. It's like you just met your Tinder date.
Right, and then...
You don't know what that is, though, BJ.
True, but I
don't even know what that is. What are you talking about?
I know that Tinder is a dating app. That's about as far as it goes for me.
Yeah.
But like, even with issue 6, I thought there was a dope moment where Damian, Lois, and Jay all pop up on this facility trying to like steal something for John. And it's used as a moment for us to see as an audience how much everyone loves and cares about John. And I'm like, that's cool, but I don't really know like what this relationship is really serving for the story so far. Although, I mean, we're now in the dude's home country, which the irony of this place being called Gamora and us being focused on these characters' sexuality is just not lost on me at all. But that's a whole different...
Oh, shoot.
Right? Like, why would you set a story in a place called Gamora? But anyway, yeah. So that's how I feel about Son of Kal-El so far. I really like it. You're getting nice family moments, and I think that's really that's why I like the Superman line as a whole. But I'm waiting for this to do something big, and it hasn't done it to this point. They're supposed to be crossing over with Nightwing in the next 2 issues. So I'm really excited about that.
Really excited about that. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's gonna be weird. It's a weird book because as much as I love it, I can't help but at this point to kind of like say you're using a lot of elements that shouldn't be plot devices, right? It should feel more natural, should feel organic, like those family moments, right? You want to paint a picture like the scene where Jay met Lois, right, and the Kent family. That was done very well before they blew up the house, but I enjoyed that moment, like it was definitely something that was cool, and it was like that's not something you see a whole lot. If you have 2 young teenagers who are starting a relationship, right, and it's a very uncomfortable topic, right, when you're like 16 years old, you have your significant other, your partner, and you're bringing them home to your parents. That's like nerve-wracking, man. That's like telling your parents, hey, I stole $20 out of your wallet. You just don't do it, But not that I did that, but not that I didn't do it again, but I'm kidding.
$20 was oddly specific.
We're not getting incriminated. I plead the 6th, but anyway.
No, yeah, I mean, that's... and BJ, the things you mentioned are part of the reason I'm personally not I'm going to pick up the Nightwing crossover. But for a character like Superman, I don't know if those down-to-earth issues like climate change and immigration and things like that are things I want for a bombastic character like that, especially when I'm trying to escape. I know personally if I want issues that deal with, real life and real world type issues, I'd read something like Spider-Man or Daredevil. But Superman's always felt like the ultimate idealist type book, and I like idealist type stories, or in the case of Action Comics, this otherworldly type epic.
Yeah, I know.
At least to me,
I get that. I feel like it's you best handle those types of stories with a more street level character. Like I remember there's an issue of Superman. It's like 189 or something like that from like back in the day. But it's basically the whole premise of the issue is like Superman doesn't care about black people, right? Like there's like this this black nationalist superhero in Harlem. I think it's Muhammad X is his name. And he's basically like, I'm the superhero from this block to this block because Superman doesn't come to this neighborhood. And in the issue, Superman kind of has this moment with Lois like, yo, like, am I racist? Like, why don't I come here? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, it just read tone deaf because I think it's difficult for anyone to really have that sort of conversation with any type of nuance, right? And so it's hard to really drive the theme of that conversation home without somebody looking or feeling shortchanged. I think that's the issue that you run into when you try to make comics too political or political for a specific end, right? Like, I think it's fine to have a conversation. Let's debate these two sides of the argument and then leave it open-ended. Let the reader decide whatever. I think when you try to tailor an argument to a predetermined outcome, it can read wrong. And I think that's where it feels forced in some ways.
Right. But a book that's not forced at all that I really dug this week was She-Hulk. #1. It was actually my pick of the week. It was one of my pick of the week. It was like that and this and Defenders were my 2 picks of the week. This is really dope, guys. So She-Hulk starting over at issue 1, obviously, because we have an issue 1 here. It's by Rainbow Rowell and Roge Antonio. This is my first introduction to Rainbow Rowell because I didn't read her Runaways, and that's something that is going to be a longer binge. Jen's backstory is for the past few years while she was running with the Avengers, she got exposed to a massive amount of gamma radiation, which caused her to be the savage, immortal She-Hulk, right? That is stupidly dumb like Bruce Banner when he's the Hulk, right? Like, we can always say, like, Hulk smash, right? Which, to me, that's kind of irked me. Because, like, you have a great character, you want to bring her in, but you don't know what to do with her. So, classic Marvel doing that. But now we're getting her back to basics. This is a grounded story. And we're getting ready for Disney Plus. Of course, this is what they want to talk about. So we have to return her back to form. She's like, this almost reminded me of Matt Fraction's Hawkeye in the fact that, like, not like the art or like the style or anything. It's just like the premise of the story. This person's not on the Avengers team anymore, and they're broke, and they have to make themselves bigger than what they are, which is a great story. It's a great way to start anew. It's a great way to change the status quo. So we see a longtime villain, Titania, and they basically, like, they start fighting, and it's like a stupid fight. So, like, I just need to blow off steam later. You need to blow off steam. As long as you're not wanted, we can do it in the back alley, like, when we're both not working. So it's like, cool. So it's like She-Hulk is sure. Jennifer's finding new ways to kind of compromise and solve problems, right? Without locking people up, which is contradictory because she's a lawyer. But that's kind of what's unique about her character. She doesn't have an apartment, so her longtime friend Janet, who we haven't seen in a hot minute, Wasp, she lends her their apartment, because the pimps have, like, all kinds of crazy money. And she got a new job with a really terrible employer who's basically like James Jonah Jameson. So that was dope. I liked it. And then we end when she gets to go in the bathtub, and Jack of Hearts, who I believe passed away he lost his life in War of the Realms. Because I know that they had I know that they had a moment in that story. He comes in to end this book, and I was like, "That's dope. We're getting Jack of Hearts back, who's a really cool villain, and we're going to be learning about how he's back in the next few issues." I loved this book, and this was a really good book, and I highly suggest that everyone gets on board for this series. It's a lot of fun. It's lighthearted. You don't need to you don't need to know a whole lot about anything about her character, right? Because it's all laid out in front of you in a very organic story that we're basically hitting the reset button with this character, and because we don't want to bring up anything else that happened with Avengers, because that wasn't really the most well-liked idea, nor was it the most fitting to her story. So we're just going to start fresh, and I like that about this book.
Yeah, it's always been something that differs the two Hulks, like between Bruce and Jen. Bruce hates the idea of being the Hulk. Like, he can't control it. Right. Jen, on the other hand, seems to revel in it. She seems to really just enjoy it and make the most of it.
She's found peace with it.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
When you do something like you did in Avengers, you're kind of taking away that crucial part of her character.
Right.
And just making her just another Hulk.
Right. Agreed. BJ, did you read this book? What's up, Harry?
What's going on?
I did read She-Hulk #1. I was not reading Jason Aaron's Avengers, so I don't know that it had the same, like, redemptive quality for me that it had for a lot of other people. Like, a lot of people were like, yes, finally, Jennifer's back. And for me, it was like, this is my first She-Hulk book. I thought it was a nice introduction. Like, I fully understood what was happening. And, because I follow comic news, like, people were very upset about Savage She-Hulk or whatever. Like, it was a thing. So you could very much see the return to form. You could see, like, the little bit of I hate that they call this fan service, but you could see that with her various stages of dress. The fight was cool. It's funny listening to Brandon describe the fighting arrangement. Sounded a whole lot like a different type of arrangement. And I think that's ironic. But yes, I mean, overall,
I was just summarizing, like, kind of like what the whole premise of their fight was. Like, Titania's like, I'm mad at jail, I'm mad, or I don't want to go back, but I need to hit something. And she also like, yeah, I could blow off some steam. That's basically what it was.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like an arranged, like, I don't know. Felt like an arranged, like a exhibition boxing match.
They're clearly enemies with benefits, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, good way to put it.
But yeah, so like, yeah, I need to fight. Yeah, I need to fight too. Cool. We'll do this every other Thursday. All right. Don't tell nobody. We'll keep it on the low. We won't hurt anybody.
We don't talk about Fight Club.
Right. So, but yeah, so I mean, I thought that was cool. And I think maybe the issue would have hit harder if I knew who in the world the Jack of Hearts was. But I thought it was good enough. Like, I would pick up an issue 2 if my pull list wasn't crowded that week. Like, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Right. I don't know when the next issue comes out. It's like another month, I think. Yeah, I think this is going to be a monthly book. But you get Jen Partel covers, which is dope. I know Russell Dodderman released his issue 3 or 4 cover with the collage of all of her costumes. So it's dope seeing her Fantastic Four costumes. That was a very good moment for comic books. Is when you had Walter Simonson and Art Adams doing that book. That was great. I loved that.
Oh, yeah, and John Byrne, too, when she was with the FF.
Yeah, sure. He's okay. I'm kidding.
Easy.
John Byrne's great.
Easy. But no, also it came out this week. Hulk.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about it.
Here. Hulk by Donny Cates. And again, I say probably my favorite artist in comics right now. Or just in general, Ryan Otley.
I'm just excited that Ryan Otley has some action to draw.
Right.
I think Ryan Otley's happy that he has action to draw. He's like, you want to do Hulk? Well, you're going to punch stuff. Oh.
No, seriously. And especially with the whole spaceship thing. Like,
yeah.
Like, I didn't know I needed Muller Twin Hulk until I saw this. Like,
yeah, it was dope. Like, I remember picking up some of those earlier issues of Spider-Man. And I was picking it up mostly because Ryan Otley was drawing. And he's like, yeah, I'm done with this. And I'm like, well, I get it, because I thought Spider-Man was going to be punching something. And he hasn't been. They're like doing a podcast and like weird stuff. So I was excited to see him actually drawing some real action. Like, he gets to explode someone's head. Like,
oh yeah,
just all kinds of crazy stuff is happening in this issue. It's dope.
You read Invincible, BJ? You ever read Invincible?
I haven't read Invincible yet.
That book alone has skyrocketed Ryan Otley for me. It's some of the most dynamic comic art I've seen in a modern series, at least. Especially when you like space and all that, it's fantastic.
I have the compendiums. Well, I have volumes 1 and 3 of the compendium. I need to grab volume 2. I was holding out because I didn't want the stupid Amazon Prime logo on it, but this is gonna be.
I mean, yeah, I know JP is where I got my volumes 2 and 3 of the compendiums. I don't know if he still has them, but
yeah, I know he still got them. I was trying to find an older version without the as seen on Amazon, but there's really no point. I'm just gonna buy it.
Fair enough.
I mean, you're gonna see the spine in your bookshelf, so it's like you're not even gonna notice.
That's true.
It's all for the spine presence, man. Come on.
But yeah, hearing
don't you shelf? You shelf, bro?
Yeah,
hey, I can see some of his shelves behind him there. He's got a sick X-Men setup.
Thanks. I just put this shelf in last weekend because before this shelf, stuff was just all over the floor. Like I was out of shelf space.
Right.
So now I've got. What are you doing? You good?
Yeah, BJ shelves, bro.
Yeah, nice. Got it.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Squeak's got a situation going on currently.
She's good.
She's squeaking.
Good.
But yeah, so this is my X-Men shelf. The rest of my Marvel's on the other side. But my indie stuff is over there. So you can see the 2 Invincibles. They're just behind Squeak's head.
Oh yeah, I also see what you're going to be reading next, and it's the same name. It looks the same as what you read.
Say that again.
I said I know what you're going to read next, and it looks the same.
No, I'm reading.
He's going through. He's doing a complete X-Men read through, I think.
Yeah, I'm doing a complete X-Men read through. So
Ooh.
Actually, under my weekly comics pile right here is the Uncanny X-Men Volume 1. which I'm still on page like 350 of. But I'm getting there. I got this week. I got to do my review by Saturday.
Hey, there you go. I'm about to finish up Astonishing X-Men tonight. It's been phenomenal.
I'm reading Uncanny X-Force. I'm reading Brubaker's X-Men because I got some hardcovers in this week from my LCS. So I've been reading that. Yeah, it's been a cool little mutant binge lately. But yeah, Hulk was great, man. I'm really enjoying this book. There's a lot of action in it, and Johnny Cage just keeps going out.
We get introduced to a new villain in this too. We open up with like this really bloody scene in El Paso where we get introduced to this kind of like dark Hulk type presence.
Right.
Almost looks like a I don't even know. He
looks like kind of like a dark side presence to him.
Kind of, but at the same time, like
he's some type of god. If you know Dynasty, it's a god.
Yeah, there's really no way to explain it. We find out more about the whole Hulk-verse type thing, like in the multiverse of Bruce Banners. Basically, we get introduced to a new one in issue 2, and in this guy's Earth, the gamma bomb that gave Banner his abilities in the first place worked, but it basically created like ground zero for a thermonuclear fallout. And so ever since then, he's been trying to, find different Hulks. We see that this Hulk god has kind of infested the engine room where the Hulk persona is in Banner's mind, or in Hulk's body. But yeah, basically creates ground zero. They try to find out, like, Hulks every now and then pop up, and they're basically these grotesque monsters. Which, again, Ryan Otley on that splash page with those like mutated Hulk type things.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So I guess we're calling this the first appearance of the Hulk in black.
I guess so, yeah.
I guess so.
That you're describing.
It's actually fetching some money on eBay right now, and then issue 6 I think is supposed to be the full appearance.
I'm so mad that I didn't buy a second copy. Like, my shop was like, "Oh, it's one per person." Oh dang, this is the internet. I probably shouldn't say this, but I mean, I can usually get things, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know it was a first appearance or anything." I was like, "Oh, well, this is a cool variant. I already have one. I'll let somebody else get it."
Yeah. If nothing else, my only thing is I go to different. I have 2 shops probably within a block of each other, and so I go to my shop to have my pull list set up, and then if I can find one in another shop, and be like, yeah, why not?
Listen, now my shop, which is also my channel sponsor, they're literally like 5 minutes down the street from me. If I can't get it there, I'm just not getting it. Like, there are other shops, but it's not worth the drive usually. And for the most part, it's like everything you ever want. This page right here, though.
That's the page I was talking about. Oh my word,
that's awesome. Like,
and then last little like cliffhanger for this, we find out on this Earth that Thunderbolt Ross is the president.
Right. I think that villain is going to be some sort of either Thunderbolt Ross or some version of Bruce Banner. That's kind of like what I'm speculating on. It could have been like one of the gamma bombs gone wrong, and that could have caused this angry Hulk who's trying to destroy across the Hulkverse. So I could see that. I could see it being a variant or a variation of someone we know from the Hulk mythos. So, that's kind of
honestly that could, because he kind of came off as like an immortal presence. That could kind of tie into Immortal Hulk a little bit.
Right. So I guess if Johnny Cage wanted to speak to Al Ewing, he can do that. Speaking of Al Ewing, though, kind of segueing into that, Defenders came out. This was, like I said, is my pick of the week. It's a small book. It's ending. And this book leaves the Marvel Universe wanting more with their cosmic dilemmas, with the Masked Raider, who we saw in Incoming. We saw him in Marvel Comics 1000. We've seen him in this run. Puts the mask on. He's the Powers of Eternity. It's a pretty straightforward concept. This murderer, Zorta, is going across the cosmos, time traveling and killing people. And the Defender's job is to stop him. right? So his destiny is lined up with the Masked Raider. When he took off the Masked Raider's mask, they're the same person. Their destinies are lined up. So the Masked Raider had to die for this guy to live so he could carry on with the Eternity Mask wanted him for whatever is coming. So that is who he essentially sacrificed himself, right? Peacefully, even though he got shot, but he was at peace with his decision. So whatever's coming, we could have that solution for. So like this kind of like time heist, time travel is all leading up to something that Al Ewing is building in the summer. I think he has been building it for quite some time, but we're going to see it come into fruition over the summer. And I'm really excited for it simply because the brain trust in Marvel is just exquisite between Al Ewing, Hickman, Gillen. I would put Dan Slott in that conversation, Johnny Cates in that conversation. Marvel has so many great visionaries right now.
Chip Zdarsky for the street level.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of someone else I snubbed. Like, because Siddarski's not really a big of Jed McKay. I could say is in that conversation, but it's really cool seeing all of this build up. You know, I've been following Al Ewing's work closely, and if you guys have not read this book, I would definitely put that on your read list because a lot of stuff is going to matter in this book, or you're going to want to have these answers ahead of time so you're not asking, well, this wasn't addressed. It was, and this is part of like Al Ewing's grand plan. Empire is just the scratch. I'm telling you, Reckoning War is just a scratch, and there's something big going on in that Marvel office. That's why they've kept this creative talent around. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it's just shows how much I need to catch up on because I read a handful of Ewing's Guardians issues. I didn't read any of Empire, and I kind of just jumped on with Sword. So I feel like I'm kind of jumped in the middle of just a huge epic that's going on in Marvel Cosmic.
I would say in Ewing. I would say with Ewing specifically, I would catch up on his work because it's all bleeding together.
Speaking of cosmic stuff, did any of you guys read that? I think it was The Last Annihilation they called it in all those annuals. How was that?
Oh, The Last Annihilation.
It starts in Guardians, like it finishes out as Guardians run, but it crosses over into a couple issues of Sword, I think, or one issue of Sword. Yeah. And then like all those one shots, like the Wiccan and Hulkling. Yeah. Black Panther, with like Dormammu as the big bad.
That was like an interesting concept of Dormammu taking over Ego, which like basically Dormammu, like the Dark Dimension is now a living planet. I thought that was dope, and I could, having Dr. Doom in that story to kind of be the antagonist for the Guardians. He comes in, he's like kind of put the Guardians on his shoulder. Like, this is like kind of my issue now. I really liked that concept. It was cool. I'm kind of sad to see that story ended because I think that Ewing could have expanded on it a little more. However, it was a great story.
Well, it was one of those. It wasn't marketed very well. So basically, if you weren't reading I keep wanting to say Hickman. I'd love to see Hickman do a Guardians, to be honest. But if you're reading Ewing's Guardians, you know that's coming up. Or if you pay close attention to Al Ewing's work, or in my case, if you're reading Sword, you would know that that's coming up. But it wasn't like a lot of Marvel events. It was very localized, right, which I think we need more of. Like, that's one thing I love about Devil's Reign in particular, but it was very localized, so it wasn't very popular because not that many people, in comparison to some other books, were reading Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoy that about Devil's Reign, although I feel like part of the reason I jumped into Devil's Reign was like, oh, it's his Marvel event. I've heard such good things about his Daredevil. Maybe I'll just jump in here. And I'm realizing it's really not as all-encompassing as I thought it was going to be. It definitely feels like this book is just this book.
Right.
It's still very good, though.
Yeah, no, honestly, I would definitely encourage you, if you could, to just go catch up on all of his Daredevil up to this point, because Devil's Reign, as much of a New York Central event as it is, it's just as much a straight up continuation of his Daredevil run. Same with like Woman Without Fear.
Where, yeah, I'm collecting it in the oversized hardcovers, but I might just jump on Marvel Unlimited and just read as much as I can now.
Oh yeah.
you get a little bit of a lull, at least for Matt Murdock, between issues. I think I say 29 to 35, but even then, there's a story with Elektra going on that is incredible. It keeps you engaged. It's honestly, if Moon Knight hadn't come out and just taken everything by storm, Daredevil would by far be the best book in Marvel right now, and in a lot of ways, it still is.
Have we talked about the 10 Lives of Wolverine yet?
I was actually just about to. That is going to be the last book we talk about today. We got a few others. I read Venom, I read Supergirl, I read Ben Reilly's Spider-Man and Strange Academy. All great books. But I do want to focus on 10 Lives of Wolverine. So this is going to be running concurrently with Deaths of Wolverine. It's written by Ben Percy, art by Joshua Cassara in this issue. Basically, this is Days of Future Past. Right? They send Wolverine, his mind, his body, back to the time where Charles Xavier is born because Omega Red, for whatever reason, is trying to kill him. So, essentially, how does this connect with House of X Powers of 10? Right? So, every time Myra dies, the universe kind of gets... It still goes on, but when Myra gets reborn, the timeline shifts. The future kind of shifts because her past has changed. So, now it's basically, however many times Myra dies, there's going to be someone new coming at Charles, right? So while Myra is, let's say, 50 in the story, for example, right? Charles is a baby. So if Myra dies, right, now there's someone new coming back. It doesn't necessarily have to be Omega Red, or it could be a different integration of Omega Red. But Wolverine is back with his bone claws, which we kind of saw that he was going to start on day one. We're going to see this progress over time because, Wolverine's timeline, I guess, is now going to be running concurrently or going to be affected by whenever Myra dies in House of X Powers of 10 and when she's reborn to meet Charles, to hit those benchmarks, to meet Magneto. So there has to be that. I will say this book is very well edited because I've never, ever seen a Ben Percy book written this flawless or this fluently. Joshua Cassara's art is fantastic. What also I enjoyed about this book is Cassandra Nova was born, right? So Charles's twin sister that was introduced by Grant Morrison in New X-Men, it is canon that she is born, or essentially in this life, because she did not die. She is still very much alive. Also, what I really enjoyed about this is kind of a subtle characterization. Wolverine will never go against Charles. He may question him, he may disagree with him, but he will never, ever, ever side against Charles, which I thought was a really cool little tidbit about this book. I enjoyed it. If people who came in with these high expectations, what is going to be the next House of X Powers of 10, you're wrong. It's a simple Wolverine.
Ben Percy's not that kind of writer.
No, it's a simple. Okay, we have to send Wolverine back in time because he has a healing factor and he can do what needs to be done, kind of thing, rather than an actual big event story.
Yeah, Ben Percy, which I didn't pick this up just because I'm not that big a fan of solo Wolverine. But Ben Percy as a writer is one of those. He is one of the most grounded writers that I've seen. One of the grittiest, which is not House of X Powers of 10 at all. Right. So I don't understand why people would expect that in the first place, to be totally honest.
Because of Percy. For one, just the release schedule, right? Doing the whole 2 series that are one. The fact that this was announced with Jonathan Hickman's departure, and it was established that okay, this is going to be the event that sets up the rest of what we're doing with X-Men. So there was a lot of expectation put on it just from the marketing. With that said, this definitely does not hit hard like issue 1 of Hoxpox at all.
No. And it's not supposed to be. I don't think that this necessarily defines what's coming up in the pipeline. I think you're going to see that with Immortal X-Men and X-Men Red. That's really what's going to push the continuity forward while everyone else is in their playground. This feels like just a playground story of we need to address Wolverine's timeline, right? Because Wolverine has had so many benchmarks throughout the years, and he's lived arguably like longer. Like he said it himself, he's like 100 years old, right, in this issue. So it's like when Myra keeps getting reborn, how does that affect Wolverine? Making it more like Wolverine centric. Like this is definitely like affecting the X-Men, but on a scale that's significant to Wolverine and Charles.
Word. I didn't even pick up that the crux of this was Moira's lives. Like, I didn't even pick that up from here. But
it's kind of weird because that's like, I know they're going to hit it simply because of how it was marketed, right? Mm-hmm. It's supposed to run concurrently with that timeline.
Got you.
And the fact that is so, like, that was my early predictions. Like, okay, this is going to tie in some way. But reading this issue and reading everything else Percy's put on the shelf, this feels the most at Hickman's home. Like, this is something like I really want to write, but here you go, Ben. You know, it's not groundbreaking enough for me to leave my mark on it. Like, you can do it. I'll edit it. But it feels like Hickman could have written it, which I'm disappointed because I was like, if Hickman wrote it, it could have been a little bit more groundbreaking. But at the end of the day, it's nothing to write home. It's nothing to forget about. It's a great story. Yeah. We just haven't had a Wolverine series in forever that has had these stakes, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think for me, that's what this really, like, if you've been reading Wolverine and X-Force by Ben Percy, like, those have led, beautifully into this. And I think that, well, maybe not beautifully, because I think those series were both just kind of hampered by all the events, Ten of Swords, and the Gala, or whatever. But I feel like the story that was being told between those events was pretty dope. Like, we're getting a really good character study of Wolverine. Like, he's very much is skeptical of the idea of Krakoa and what it takes to keep Krakoa safe. Like, we've got that. That's been great characterization all around. And then now, and then in X-Force, we had this weird thing with Omega Red working with Dracula, and then X-Force kind of hijacking his mind, like, oh, we're going to kill him and resurrect him and just use him for our purposes. And it seems like in this issue, he's figured out what happened to him. And he's like, all right, now I got to kill Charles Xavier. I don't know how he decided he has to kill Charles Xavier. I don't know how this time traveling is working. I don't know how he's implanting his consciousness into all these random people, but it doesn't matter because Wolverine's here to stop it. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, this is just another example of Wolverine getting his claws dirty to protect the idea of Krakoa. And I'm down for that.
Right. 100%. I agree. I really like this book. What's going on, Raging? Good to see you in here, my friend.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
But yeah, next week's going to be another big week. BJ, I do want to thank you for coming on the show. So last minute, it's great having you. You're welcome. Yeah. You have an open invitation. You. You don't need to worry about it. And BJ's links are all in the description below, so make sure you guys definitely go check out his channel. Be there for the Thursday hangout. It's a great time, as always, talking about new comic books. But this show, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, that's the place to be. We have a video dropping on Monday with the PCP Army Bad Batch. We're going to be talking about why DC Comics still needs Jeff Johns now more than ever with their continuity shifts. Not a fan of Williamson writing DC events. I'm a fan of him doing Rob and more grounded work, but I'm not the biggest fan of, and you're going to find out in that video why. Other than that, Friday we have archives dropping. That is House of M we did, which is really great. I love that story, and I'm excited for you guys to see all we have to say about that. BJ, what do you have coming out?
I got a couple omnibus overviews that I need to film tonight. So we're looking at Road to No Man's Land and Mutant Massacre. I've got, what do I have? I got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline. Basically, this video is 5 days a week. Thursday on the Hangout, we're talking about this week's comic books. And when I finally get Seven Secrets, we'll be talking about that. I got a new room tour dropping pretty soon. I'm starting a new series called Who's Who, where I just break down origins and abilities for characters both well-known and seemingly forgotten. So the first episode of that drops next Wednesday, and I'm highlighting Static, a.k.a. Static Shock. But that's going to be a fun series, so stay tuned for that.
There you go, BJ. That's awesome, man. Make sure you guys definitely do head over to BJ's channel. Hit that subscribe button. Drops great content Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm excited for next week. Take care, you guys.
Take care. Talk to y'all later.